Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good
Morning, sir.
morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, so today we will look at the significance of TCA cycle, wherein we will pay attention towards the stoichiometry. So first and foremost, when we talk about the importance of Krebs cycle, we all know this for a fact that this process deals with the complete oxidation of the substrate that enters the TCA cycle. So you are breaking it down completely to the level of carbon dioxide and water, because of which we refer to it as complete oxidation process, right? Obviously, this process is something which is very important from the point of energy yield, because maximum number of ATPs that are being generated are from this process. So you would say that, sir, we saw in the pathway there was only one step where we generated ATP. But please do not forget that whatever ATPs you're generating in the electron transport chain, around 8 NADH molecules, including the acetylation process, and 2 FADH2 molecules are coming from this process. So it clearly indicates that this process is very significant from the point of view of energy yield, because a lot of ATP molecules are going to be generated via this particular cycle, right? Also, we have to understand that during this oxidation process, when a lot of intermediate compounds are generated, those intermediate compounds have a lot of significance in biosynthesis, in anabolic reactions, because they act as precursors, they act as raw materials for synthesizing some important lipids, for synthesizing amino acids, for synthesizing some steroidal hormones, and also some of the intermediates are important for gluconeogenesis, that is reverse glycolysis. So we need to understand this, that whatever intermediates we are seeing in Krebs cycle, they have a significant role to play in terms of the anabolic reactions, in terms of biosynthetic reactions. Now, coming to the stoichiometry part, if you study about stoichiometry, it's that part of chemical studies which basically involves using relationship between reactants or products in a chemical reaction to, in a way, find out, or establish a relationship in terms of quantitative data. Okay, so we need to understand that there is a lot of connection when it comes to how many reactants are being utilized, how much of product is being formed. We will see that in a while, but right now what you have to see here is the stages of Krebs cycle, wherein it is telling you that at every stage you are doing something very significant. In the first stage, you are first synthesizing acetyl CoA by the process of glycolysis and acetylation. In the second stage, you start with the oxidation of the acetyl CoA. You are generating a lot of NADH and FADH2 molecules, which act as the electron carriers because they have accepted electrons from the substrate. And then you are channelizing these NADH and FADH2 into electron transport chain, wherein you are generating ATP molecules out of it. So that becomes your oxidative phosphorylation, or the respiratory ETC. We call it as respiratory ETC for a basic reason that in photosynthesis, you have studied in your 12th standard that there are something called as light reactions, where we used to call it as photophosphorylation. So those photophosphorylations also are electron transport chain itself, but they are photosynthetic electron transport chain. And here the electron transport chain that we are talking about is the respiratory electron transport chain. So we have to keep them separate. We have to refer to them as respiratory ETC and photosynthetic ETC. Okay. So coming back to the stoichiometry part, so if you see this particular slide very carefully, you will realize that to metabolize one acetyl CoA, that's the first reaction there. To metabolize one acetyl CoA, you are requiring two oxygen molecules. Okay, you're needing 2 oxygen molecules for metabolizing 1 acetyl CoA. Now, why is it so? So please understand, if you remember ETC that you have studied in 12th standard, you will remember that for every NADH or for every FADH2, you need half oxygen molecule participating in ETC, which then gets converted into metabolic water, right? So if you start from 1 acetyl CoA, it clearly indicates that you don't have to consider acetylation because you're starting from acetyl CoA. So then in the pathway, you have 3 NADH being synthesized and 1 FADH2 being synthesized, correct? In the cycle of Krebs cycle, you have 3 NADH molecules and 1 FADH2 synthesized, isn't it? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And for every NADH, if I need half O2, how many O2 molecules will I need in all? I will need 2 oxygens, right? 2 oxygen molecules here. Because हर NADH के लिए मुझे आधा O2 लगता है. तो मेरे पास ऐसे 3 NADH और 1 FADH2 है. तो हर एक के लिए अगर आधा O2 होगा तो मुझे टोटल 2 ऑक्सीजन के मॉलिक्यूल्स लगेंगे to complete the process, right? So that shows you, that establishes a quantitative relationship between how much oxygen will you need for metabolizing 1 acetyl CoA molecule completely at, till the end of ETC. But if you start the same thing from pyruvate instead of acetyl CoA, then obviously in acetylation you have another NADH coming into the picture. So now you have 4 NADH and 1 FADH2. Then how many O2 will you require? Then you will require 2.5 O2. Okay, so half, यहाँ पे half O2 increase हुआ है because एक और NADH यहाँ पर add हो रहा है, which is coming from the process of acetylation. Right? So what you have to understand is, according to the number of NADH and FADH2 that you have to reoxidize in the process of ETC, the amount of oxygen that is going to be utilized in the process is also going to change. Because in ETC, half O2 accepts 2 protons, 2 electrons, and it forms 1 molecule of metabolic water. And for every NADH or every FADH2 molecule, you will require half O2. Okay? Is this correlation clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Others? I could hear
Yes, sir.
4, 5.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now we are moving to a important concept, but before that, you can see here that for PDH part, you are going to refer Conant-Stumpf. I have already told you that. For the cycle, the reaction part, you will refer to Leninger. And for significance, you will again go to Conant-Stumpf. The Conant-Stumpf part is already there in the Google Drive, so you can refer to that. Okay. Now, what we are going to move towards is the anapleretic reactions. Okay, so anapleretic reactions is basically a very significant concept. Okay, anapleretic reactions, इस word का मतलब exactly क्या है ये हमको पहले समझना चाहिए. Okay, so जब हम बोलते हैं कि TCA cycle amphibolic है, amphibolic का मतलब क्या है? It is both catabolic and anabolic. अभी हमने ये क्यों बोला था कि ये amphibolic है? क्योंकि मेजरली TCA साइकिल कैटाबॉलिक है, राइट? बट उसके जो इंटरमीडिएट्स है वो किसी ना किसी बायोसिंथेटिक रिएक्शन के लिए, एनाबॉलिक प्रोसेस के लिए रॉ मटेरियल की तरह काम करते हैं. अब ये चीज जब हम डिस्कस करते हैं तो हमारे दिमाग में पहला सवाल होना चाहिए कि अगर क्रेब्स साइकिल के इंटरमीडिएट्स को वहां से हमने निकाल दिया, इफ वी चैनलाइज देम इनटू बायोसिंथेसिस, इफ वी चैनलाइज देम टू एनाबॉलिक रिएक्शंस, देन कैटाबॉलिक रिएक्शन प्रोसीड कैसे होगा? क्योंकि हमने वहां से उस रॉ मटेरियल को तो निकाल के एनाबॉलिज्म के लिए यूज कर लिया है. तो साइकिल अपने कंप्लीशन तक कैसे जाएगा? कैसे हम इन इंटरमीडिएट्स के अमाउंट को मेंटेन करके रख सकते हैं ताकि कैटाबॉलिज्म और एनाबॉलिज्म का बैलेंस बना रहे? ये जो सवाल है इसका जवाब हमको एनाप्लोरेटिक रिएक्शंस देते हैं, बिकॉज एनाप्लोरेटिक ये जो टर्म है ये एच.एल. कॉर्नबर्ग इस बंदे ने प्रपोज किया है, जिसका मतलब है फिलिंग अप रिएक्शंस और रिप्लेनिशिंग रिएक्शंस। रिप्लेनिशिंग या फिलिंग अप का मतलब ही ये होता है कि जो खाली हुआ है उसकी जगह भरो। सो अगर इंटरमीडिएट्स एनाबॉलिज्म में यूटिलाइज हो रहे हैं तो उनको वहां पर हमको रिप्लेनिश करना पड़ेगा, उनको वहां पर हमको दोबारा लाना पड़ेगा ताकि प्रोसेस का जो बैलेंस है बिटवीन कैटाबॉलिज्म एंड एनाबॉलिज्म वो मेंटेन रह सके। क्योंकि याद रखो, क्योंकि एक साइक्लिक प्रोसेस है और अगर बीच में से आप इंटरमीडिएट निकाल दोगे तो ऑक्सैलो एसीटेट तक तो वो पहुंचेगा ही नहीं, और अगर वो ऑक्सैलो एसीटेट तक पहुंचेगा नहीं, ऑक्सैलो एसीटेट अगर दोबारा नहीं बनेगा तो फिर से एसिटाइल कोए के साथ कंडेंस कौन होगा? क्योंकि हम OAA रीजनरेट इसीलिए कर रहे हैं ताकि अगले आने वाले एसिटाइल कोए मॉलिक्यूल के साथ TCA कैरी आउट हो सके। तो अगर OAA दोबारा जनरेट ही नहीं हुआ तो ये प्रोसेस कैसे चलेगा, है कि नहीं? बिकॉज इट्स अ साइक्लिक प्रोसेस। तो ये सवाल is what has been solved by H.L. Kornberg by proposing the concept of anapleretic reactions, wherein he said that the body, the cells realize that there is a need to replenish the components. There is a need to fill up the oxaloacetate, which may not be being generated because the intermediates of the reaction are being taken up, are being consumed for carrying out some biosynthetic process. So then he said that depending on the organisms, depending on which organism you are studying, whether it's a human, whether it's an animal, whether it's a plant, whether it's a bacteria or yeast, there are different kind of anapleretic reactions that you may observe. Okay, so I'm going to cast now the whiteboard and we will first see the reactions one by one there, and then I'll give you time to write down the reactions. But right now just pay attention to the reactions that we are discussing. I hope you're able to see the whiteboard. Can someone please confirm?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Great. So the first enzyme that we are going to discuss over here is what we call as pyruvic carboxylase. So the name itself clarifies what the reaction is. Decarboxylase is removal of carbon dioxide. Carboxylase is addition of carbon dioxide. Now this is a very significant anapleretic reaction that takes place in animal tissues. Okay, and this enzyme basically in animal tissues is found in mitochondria. ठीक है, अब क्या होता है इस रिएक्शन में? हम पाइरुवेट में कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड ऐड करने वाले, दैट इज द बेसिक मोटो ओवर हियर. ओके, but this is going to take place in presence of ATP, which means it's an energy consuming reaction and you also need a water molecule. Now what are you going to synthesize in this process? So you are going to be adding a carboxyl group over here because you're adding CO2. So you're going to be adding a carboxyl group over here. Okay, the hydrogen will obviously come from water. Okay, so that you form a COOH group, right? Then you will have your CH2, C double bond O, COOH. This is nothing but your oxaloacetic acid or OAA. Plus ADP because it's an energy consuming process, and the phosphate which was removed, the terminal phosphate of ATP which is released out free, that is released in the form of H3PO4. So for that obviously water is important to form this H3PO4. Now for this you require Mg2 plus, you require biotin, and you require acetyl CoA. Now why acetyl CoA? Because only if there is acetyl CoA there is going to be a need of OAA. If there is no need of OAA, this anapleretic reaction is not going to be carried out. अगर OAA एडिक्वेट कॉन्सेंट्रेशन में है तो वो एसिटाइल कोए के साथ कंबाइन करके क्रेब्स साइकिल चालू कर लेगा. बट अगर एसिटाइल कोए एसिमिलेट हो रहा है, अगर वो अक्यूमुलेट हो रहा है, इट इज एन इंडिकेशन दैट OAA है नहीं उसके साथ इंटरैक्ट करने के लिए और आगे साइकिल बढ़ाने के लिए, देन OAA बनाना पड़ेगा. तो वो OAA कैसे बनाएंगे? By using this particular enzyme which we call as pyruvic carboxylase. Okay, so that's the way by which you can replenish OAA. Now what we have to understand over here in this particular part is that this is specifically found only in animals. You don't find it even in plants. Okay, that is something that we have to understand. And secondly, this can also be referred to as, you know, a link between glycolysis and Krebs cycle, because you are making use of pyruvate and you are converting it into oxaloacetic acid. So another way of, you know, another reaction that's acting as a connecting link between glycolysis and Krebs cycle, because pyruvic acid glycolysis ka product hai, right? Now there is another way of forming oxaloacetic acid. If you don't have this particular enzyme, then you have another way of forming this particular compound, which is by this enzyme called as PEP carboxylase. That is phosphoenol pyruvic acid carboxylase. PEPA is a product that you had learned in glycolysis, if you remember. Right? Now, this is an irreversible reaction, okay, wherein you are going to work with PEPA. So PEPA looks like this. There's a phosphate group on the second carbon. This is how your PEPA molecule looks like. To this, you are adding CO2 in presence of water molecule. It's an irreversible reaction. So this will add the carbon dioxide group, and simultaneously what we are going to do is we are going to get rid of this. Okay, so you will have COOH, C double bond O. Okay, because this is what we are going to release exactly. I'm sorry, this part is what we are exactly going to release. And you will have CH2 and COOH. Okay, so one H will come from the water molecule, and the phosphate removed will be released as H3PO4. That's how you will release the phosphate, because you are anyways removing H2PO3, right? So one oxygen and one hydrogen is there in water, which can be used to release it as H3PO4. So you get your oxaloacetic acid. Magnesium is the cofactor for this particular reaction, and let me tell you that you will find this enzyme in higher animals. Sorry, not animals, rather higher plants, yeast, bacteria. Okay, but it is totally absent in animals. जैसे कि ऊपर हमने बोला था पायरुविक कार्बोक्सिलेज, पहले वाले केस में हमने बोला था पायरुविक कार्बोक्सिलेज was found in animals, in animal tissues. But here this PP carboxylase is found in higher plants, it's found in yeast, bacteria, but it's absent in animals. But let me tell you that even some bacteria lack it, like Pseudomonas, it's absent in them. They don't have this particular enzyme. Okay, so we have to understand that in bacteria also there may be exceptions which are there. Now, many a times organisms also utilize this particular reaction to generate oxaloacetate, from which they can generate aspartic acid. Okay, because oxaloacetate is the precursor for the amino acid aspartate. So some organisms may synthesize OAA using PEP carboxylase, so that by transamination reaction, that is by transferring an amino group from another amino acid, they can convert oxaloacetate into aspartate. Okay, so you have to understand that in some microorganisms especially, they will carry out this reaction so that OA can be used to generate aspartic acid. Okay, so I think what we will do is that we will write these two reactions down first. The presentation is already there in front of you, so give heading as anapleretic reactions. Write down the first reaction, and then I'll change the slide. I hope things till here are clear. If you have questions, please ask.
Sir.
Both.
Sir, in the first case, like in pyruvic carboxylase wala, usme we saw that like acetyl CoA, like it triggers the reaction, right, due to its accumulation.
If it accumulates.
Yes. So what triggers the second one, the PEP carboxylase? Like
So, see, first of all, it depends if aspartic acid is not present in enough concentrations. If aspartic acid is deficient, that could be one trigger. The second trigger could also be if oxaloacetic acid levels in the cell is reduced, because of which Krebs cycle is not proceeding in the forward direction. So in both of these circumstances, these reactions will set in, because obviously anaplerotic reactions will be kept under strict genetic regulation. Okay, only when there is going to be a requirement to refill the components, then these reactions will take place. So it could be in this case both lack of aspartate or even TCA not proceeding in the forward direction.
yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so we can go ahead with the next anaplerotic reaction. So the next one is quite similar to what you just saw in the second reaction, but the enzyme name is slightly different. It's called PEP carboxykinase. Now the difference over here is that while we are adding carbon dioxide to PEPA and forming oxaloacetic acid, we are not releasing that phosphate group as H3PO4. Rather, we are fixing it in the form of an energy currency, which is GTP, which can later be converted into ATP by the similar enzyme which we studied last time in Krebs, that is nucleoside diphosphate kinase. So that can be used to shift the phosphate group and conserve that energy in the form of ATP. So this gives you an indication of how the cell is trying its level best to conserve energy wherever possible. Okay. So while you are making oxaloacetic acid, why not generate energy currency also is what you are basically doing at this point of time. So let us see how this reaction proceeds. So you have your PEPA, which looks like this, wherein you have phosphate group on the second carbon. This is my PEPA, to which I add carbon dioxide. I will have GDP, which is present over here to accept the phosphate group. So what is going to happen is that I form oxaloacetic acid, and the phosphate group removed is going to be taken up by GTP, such that you are forming the energy, rather GDP forming GTP and forming an energy currency, which can then be converted to ATP molecule. Okay, so what we need to understand at this point is this is going to be basically again seen in microorganisms like bacteria and yeast, which would want no opportunity left behind to generate some kind of energy currency, which can then be utilized for biosynthetic processes in them. Okay, so very similar, only thing is that instead of releasing phosphate as phosphoric acid, we are conserving the energy also in the form of GTP. And then there is another anaplerotic reaction wherein we are not generating OAA, but we are generating another intermediate of Krebs cycle so that the cycle can still continue. Okay, so here the enzyme is called as the Malic enzyme. And what we basically do is we have pyruvate. To this pyruvate, we add a carbon dioxide, and we also carry out reduction of the pyruvate, wherein NADPH and H plus are donors of hydrogen. Reduction means now we are going to add hydrogens to the substrate. So the carbon dioxide that we are going to add, that's going to give us an additional carboxyl group being generated. So what you will see is that you will have COOH, C double bond O jo hai now, that will be converted into CHOH because you are adding hydrogens. So these hydrogens will be added over there to convert this to CHOH, CH2 and COOH. Plus you will get the oxidized form, that is NADP, as it has lost the hydrogen. This is nothing but malate. And you know that from malate, using malate dehydrogenase, you can generate OAA and the Krebs cycle process can continue. So this indicates that anaplerotic reactions are not just about regenerating oxaloacetic acid. You could also regenerate malic acid. Now, these malic enzymes, they occur in the mitochondria as well as the cytosol of plant as well as animal cells. Okay, so it's found in both the cytosol as well as mitochondria of plant as well as animal cells. Okay, so we need to understand that this particular enzyme has a lot of significance in anaplerotic reactions which is carried out in plant and animal cells. Right? Now this is also something which can be reversed. It's also a reversible reaction wherein you can convert malate to pyruvate, and if you want to really go into reverse of glycolysis, gluconeogenesis, this reaction will be very significant because it will go in reverse direction, generate pyruvate, and you go ulta of your glycolysis to generate glucose. In that circumstances, the NADPH which will be generated when you go reverse from malate to pyruvate, you will end up generating NADPH. So that NADPH can be utilized then for anabolic reactions, biosynthetic reactions like fatty acid synthesis. So you have to understand that in both the ways, in both the directions, this reaction is going to be important. This reaction is going to be significant. Okay, if it is going in the direction of malate, then you are replenishing the intermediates for Krebs. And if it is going in the reverse direction, you are generating pyruvate which can go into gluconeogenesis, or you are also generating NADPH which can be utilized as a reducing material for your biosynthetic processes. Okay, so these are your anaplerotic reactions. When you have discussed 4 of the anaplerotic reactions. Anaplerotic reactions are also from Korn and Stumpf. It's already there in the Google Drive. So you can start reading this part from Korn and Stumpf. So just note down these 2 reactions and then we will go ahead. Okay, great. So let us go ahead. So what we are going to discuss now, we will not discuss glyoxylate first. We will first discuss incomplete TCA and then we will go to glyoxylate. So when we talk about the time period when Earth was just formed and first forms of life were being formed, we know that the atmosphere then was of reducing type, right? We know that we did not have molecular oxygen in the environment. It was those set of organisms which were completely anaerobic. They were obligate anaerobic organisms which were there on Earth. Obviously, our question for them would be that did they have, this is really a big question because they were not aerobic. So why would they have TCA cycle? But this is what is surprising because they still used to have TCA cycle. Okay, but the difference is that it did not proceed as a cycle but was taking place as a linear set of reactions because they lacked a very significant enzyme there, which is alpha Kg dehydrogenase. Alpha Kg dehydrogenase is that enzyme which is responsible for converting alpha Kg to succinyl CoA. So they did not have this enzyme. So what they used to do was pyruvate and oxaloacetate से वो लोग citrate बनाते थे, citrate से isocitrate बनाते थे, isocitrate से oxalosuccinate और oxalosuccinate से alpha Kg बनाते थे. So that was one linear set of reaction. Another linear set of reaction was wherein from oxaloacetate they used to make malate, from malate they used to make fumarate, from fumarate they used to make succinate, and from succinate succinyl CoA can also be synthesized. So which means that they were coming reverse from one direction and forward from the another direction, but it could never join up as a cycle because they lacked this alpha Kg enzyme. So this is what it will look like. Okay, so you have acetyl CoA from which you are synthesizing up to alpha Kg, and from PEP or pyruvate you can form oxaloacetic acid. We just saw that in anapleretic reactions, and you can go reverse, malate, fumarate, succinate, succinyl CoA. But ये यहाँ का जो कड़ी है ये टूटा हुआ है क्योंकि यहाँ का एंजाइम है ही नहीं उनके पास. Okay, so we are talking about anaerobic organisms. They lack this enzyme. We are talking about obligate anaerobes in this particular scenario, and even some facultative anaerobes show this part when they are not provided with oxygen at all. They can carry out incomplete TCA. Okay, तो जब उनको ऑक्सीजन नहीं मिलेगा तो जब वो एरोबिक से एनारोबिक कंडीशन में या एनारोबिक मेटाबॉलिज्म में शिफ्ट होंगे तो वो भी ये प्रोसेस दिखा सकते हैं. अब तुम्हारा सवाल होगा कि फिर वो लोग ये पाथवे करते ही क्यों थे, क्योंकि क्या फायदा होने वाला है इसमें से. सो ये पाथवे वो लोग एटीपी जनरेट करने के लिए नहीं करते थे. ये पाथवे वो लोग वो इंटरमीडिएट्स जनरेट करने के लिए करते थे जिससे कि बायोसिंथेटिक रिएक्शंस कैरी आउट हो सके. क्योंकि जैसे कि मैंने कहा कि यहाँ के बहुत सारे इंटरमीडिएट्स लिपिड सिंथेसिस, हार्मोन सिंथेसिस, अमाइनो एसिड सिंथेसिस, न्यूक्लियोटाइड सिंथेसिस, हीम ग्रुप सिंथेसिस के लिए जरूरी है. सो देन ये रिएक्शंस होने जरूरी है. सो यहाँ पर जब आप सिट्रेट टू आइसोसिट्रेट कन्वर्जन करते हो, जो भी NADH बनेगा, that NADH will be utilized here when you go ulta, oxaloacetate to malate. You will have to carry out reduction because originally एक oxidation process है malate to OA, but उल्टा आते वक्त तुमको रिडक्शन करना पड़ेगा. तो वो NADH कहाँ से आएगा? तो जो सिट्रेट टू आइसोसिट्रेट में NADH बना, उस NADH का तुम यहाँ पर इस्तेमाल करोगे. Okay, so that's how you can come ulta of the process. So even at that point, they had these reactions taking place, but in a slightly different manner. And the aim was not to generate energy. The aim was to generate, the intermediate molecules for carrying out biosynthetic processes. Yes, when cyanobacteria came into existence and they started giving out oxygen as the byproduct of photosynthesis and the atmosphere started turning into an oxidizing type, that's when this cycle would have evolved further. So this is the best example of evolutionary changes that has taken place, and it also shows us that how organisms have retained the pathways with modifications in them. So I hope now you know why you call it as incomplete TCA, because you're not completing the cycle over here. Does that make sense to all of you?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
normally people have this notion that ये TCA का modification है. नहीं, TCA इसमें से आया है. Incomplete TCA में से TCA बन के evolve हुआ है. ये याद रखना बहुत जरूरी है. बहुत लोगों को लगता है that this is a modification of the TCA cycle. No, it is completely reverse of that. This was prevalent and this was modified to have the Krebs cycle that we study today. Right? This process is a very chotu sa descriptive part with this cycle which has been given in your Leninger. Okay, so if they ask you in exam, you will have to put up this pathway as you can see on the screen right now. Depending on the marks, if they tell you to write the structures, you may have to write the structures and show the process happening ulta from oxaloacetate to succinyl-CoA. Okay, wherein you say that NADH plus H plus is getting converted into NADE. Okay, so you will have to write that if they ask you to write it with structures. So whenever you get time in your notebook, like you write the schematic of Krebs cycle, also try to put up this schematic with structures and with the conversions. The enzyme names will remain the same because most of the Krebs cycle reactions are reversible. So that's going to remain the same. Okay, fine. So yes, you are going to read this part from Leninger. Now what we come to is the process of glyoxylate bypass. This is another modification of TCA. So as I said that, there are several ways in which you can see TCA in different organisms. Glyoxylate bypass is one. I don't know if we will be able to cover the entire glyoxylate bypass, but it's not very big. It's a tiny thing. If we still have 8 minutes, so let us see if we are able to do it. If not, we will continue in our next session. So very important to understand this enzyme. This enzyme is what we call as isocitrate lyase. As the term suggests, you are going to split isocitrate. Look at the left hand side, the structure of isocitrate. This is the structure of isocitrate. What you are basically going to do is you're going to break this bond. Okay, this bond is what we are going to break. And in this process, the hydrogen of the hydroxyl group will be given to this carbon such that this becomes CH2. So it will become CH2COOH, CH2COOH. This is nothing but succinic acid. Okay, so you can see here you're releasing succinate. And as you have removed the hydrogen, this will turn into a double bond. So it will become CH double bond O, COOH. So this compound that is left behind, which is a 2-carbon compound, is what we call as glyoxylate or glyoxylic acid. Okay, so what you have done is you have broken this bond. As you break this bond, what you have done is you have transferred the hydrogen of the hydroxyl group above such that this becomes CH2. So CH2COOH, CH2COOH. And what you release out is CH double bond O, COOH. This is nothing but glyoxylate or glyoxylic acid. And the enzyme which is doing this, we call that enzyme as isocitrate lyase. Okay. Now, this is a reversible reaction. Keep this in mind. Now, what are we aiming here? But before we do that, there is another enzyme also that you need to keep in mind before we actually look at why we are doing this. So the glyoxylate that you formed and acetyl-CoA, if they combine in presence of water, you are going to remove CoA-SH. So you very well know that one hydrogen of water will go in forming this CoA-SH, and the hydroxyl group will replace the acetyl-CoA to form COOH group. So it becomes CH2, COOH, CH, another hydrogen will be utilized here, okay, from water molecules itself. So you will end up using 2 water molecules in the process. So you form an OH by breaking this double bond. So you form CH2COOH, CHOH, COOH. So what you get in this process is malic acid. Okay, and the enzyme is malate synthase, because you're synthesizing malate in the process by condensing acetyl-CoA and glyoxylic acid, and you're releasing coenzyme A. Now you would say that what is the significance of these two reactions? So I want you to have a look at this particular pathway. We will go back to that earlier slide in a little while. But have a look at this. This looks horribly confusing, right? So there are some organisms which bypass the original TCA, okay? And in this bypassing, they end up producing some other intermediates also. Now what is happening? So you have two acetyl-CoA molecules, let us say, and you will need two oxaloacetate, which will combine to form two molecules of citrate. Two molecules of citrate will give you two molecules of isocitrate. One isocitrate will go in the regular pathway of TCA. As you can see, this is the regular pathway. Oxoglutarate is nothing but alpha Kg. Alpha ketoglutarate is also called as alpha oxoglutarate. It is one and the same. So don't get confused. So this one molecule of isocitrate will follow the regular pathway. The another molecule of isocitrate is going to be acted upon by isocitrate lyase. Okay, when it is acted upon by isocitrate lyase, what you are going to get is succinic acid and glyoxylate. So that succinic acid is ultimately going and joining the regular TCA pathway because succinate is there in the TCA. So one succinate is directly formed from isocitrate and glyoxylate is released. This glyoxylate will interact with another acetyl-CoA to directly form malate. So now what was happening? One isocitrate was following regular process. So one isocitrate मतलब एक ही alpha Kg बनेगा, एक ही succinyl-CoA बनेगा, एक ही succinic acid बनेगा. But दूसरा isocitrate lyase के एक्शन के वजह से एक succinate डिलीवर करेगा, तो ऐसे मुझे दो succinate मिले, जिससे दो fumarate मिलेंगे. जो ग्लायोक्सिलेट बना वो एक और एसिटाइल कोए के साथ इंटरैक्ट करेगा एंड इट विल ऐड टू वन मोर मैलेट. सो जो दो सक्सिनेट दो फ्यूमरेट बनाएगा वो दो मैलेट भी बनाएगा, बट एक और मैलेट मुझे ग्लायोक्सिलेट और एसिटाइल कोए से मिला, तो अभी तीन मैलेट हो गए. तीन मैलेट तीन ऑक्सैलोएसिटेट बना सकते हैं, और अब इसमें से दो ऑक्सैलोएसिटेट आगे जा सकते हैं, लेकिन एक ऑक्सैलोएसिटेट मैंने एक्स्ट्रा बनाया, और वो एक oxaloacetate से I can carry out biosynthesis, because oxaloacetate से I can synthesize pyruvate. Pyruvate से I can go reverse of glycolysis and generate glucose. From one oxaloacetate I can also form amino acids like aspartic acid. So I am generating one OAA extra to carry out biosynthetic process by doing this glyoxylate bypass. Have you understood why we are doing this? Have you understood the motto?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
The entire
Yes, sir.
motto is just to generate one extra oxaloacetate, because that one extra oxaloacetate can be converted to pyruvate, or you can also convert to PEPA directly, because we have seen PEP carboxykinase, जहां पे हम PEP से OA बना रहे थे, अब तुम उल्टा भी बना सकते हो, और वो PEP से तुम उल्टा जा सकते हो in the process and form glucose, reverse glycolysis. Okay, so that's the reason why some organisms will end up following glyoxylate bypass to generate one extra molecule of oxaloacetic acid. This is going to be, you have to read it from Gottschalk. You have not written it down, I know, but we will note it down in our next session. Just remind me next time that you have to write all these reactions down. So I'll give you time to write it down. As I said, incomplete TCA, please लिखने का कोशिश करो खुद से घर पे with structures. Leninger रेफर करो, और बाकी structures तो तुम्हारे पास है ही, तो just try to note it down. Okay, and we will meet tomorrow in the afternoon, wherein we will discuss. We'll first write glyoxylate bypass, okay, and then we will go to the amphibolic role of EMP and TCA cycle, and we will also see either, if according to the time, either we will go to regulation aspect of EMP TCA or we will do the energetics. Either of it we will do as per whatever time is available. But surely we'll first write glyoxylate, then we will do the amphibolic role of EMP and TCA, and then as per time we will decide what to start with. So we are nearing the end of the unit is what I want you to know, because I told you once TCA is done, rest of the things are very quick. So now your job of studying has to begin. Okay? Fine. That's it for today.